All right, hi, this is Henk. Welcome to another school session. And today my guest is Devin Blair. That's correct?
That's correct.
Awesome. All right, man. So, what do you have going on?
Well, living up in Ukraine right now, recording stories and reporting them online.
Side note, how's that going?
Uh, in the safer part of the city. I'm more
Okay.
in the old
Uh,
city,
what city are you in?
Lviv.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, is it for part of the country? Is it
Yeah,
part of
it's
the
been.
city in danger?
No, the Lviv is actually the safer part because it's like more. It's going closer to the Poland border and all that kind of stuff. But it's actually
Okay.
once you push more toward the east, that's where it becomes a little bit more war zone wise.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you don't care. I don't want to spend the whole thing on like politics. Is like
Oh no
it's
no no, you're
promoting
good.
yourself. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure that you're good. You're where you're at is safe. Is it kind of like a like I'm not real familiar with the Ukraine, so it's like is it big enough that where you are right now you're not heavily affected?
Yeah, no. Except for yeah, not affected at all. I mean, everyone seems like they're living the normal life right now. That I know of, at least.
That's kind of weird.
Well, I guess from that point of view, because I did a lesson, from earlier, like this whole volunteer activity, because that's what I'm doing around here to actually weave into my story that I'm making up. And so I was actually got done doing a volunteer session with it was called camouflaging netting, which is basically making like these camouflage patterns, which you can put on soldiers' helmets and you know bed for concealment.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean that was just one activity, and then I did a tour around the old city, so I guess that was cool. But yeah,
Okay.
everyone's living their normal life.
Wow. So there are like affected areas that are kind of all war torn, and there are other areas where it's like kind of life is normal.
Yeah. So there's this app that's called hang on a second, where it's called Air Alert, and basically it gives you like these if you can select like the region you're in and all that kind of stuff, it can give you like certain alerts like where it's actually going to be like air raids or whatnot. And there's like a map that basically gives out the entire country that actually tells you like what parts are like war zone affected and what's going on, which is more during the eastern part of Ukraine, which is near the Russian border.
Okay, and
Or
you're in more of the western part.
yeah.
Okay, so all right, so let's not talk Ukraine all day. So why don't you tell us what you have going on?
Yeah, so I started this podcast last year, back in October. Well, it's been in production ever since August and all that kind of stuff, and it's been launched ever since October. And so, what better yet than the Chemical Rocketeers podcast, which. So, the background story of the podcast is basically me that takes real life experiences and then weave into the Rocketeers universe that I'm currently building from the ground up.
Okay,
And
so
so,
what's Rocketeer universe?
it's basically just the entire universe of like how humanity's rebuilding itself on a different planet.
Okay, well, was
From
there some devastation or something on Earth?
yeah, so long story short, it's basically like taking time, like right now, like threatening of like nuclear bombs and all that kind of stuff. But what
Right.
happens is on Earth in this dimension or universe I'm creating, these secret organizations basically get together to form a colony that's called the Rocketeers colony to send over to the moon, which is called Horizon Moon, which I gave it more of a unique name to rebuild human civilization once again before a nuclear catastrophe happens.
So that was on the moon. So they're like rebuilding on the moon. Are they planning on going somewhere else, or are they
Currently,
gonna like kind of terraform the moon?
right now they're rebuilding on the moon, but they're basically expanding their forces, and because it's in different seasons. Because I just got finished up with season one, which has been pre-recorded, and then when I get to further seasons, it's going to unfold itself more often.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
I'm not real familiar with podcast stories. So it's an ongoing storyline where you like spill out basically an episode per podcast.
Yes. So each episode, like basically unfolds the storyline of the Rocketeers universe, or
Okay,
basically Rocketeers colony, or
and
whatnot.
how long is an episode?
Typically only 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what you do, view a new episode every week, every day? How often?
It's supposed to be like every 2 weeks, but my producer's been pretty busy with like other podcasters and all that kind of stuff. But it's basically every other 2 weeks.
Okay. So
So
it's like you get 15 minutes of the story every 2 weeks. And
yep.
do you have a plan for how long the whole story is going to be?
Oh, I'm just gonna write it out as long as possible.
But,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
is it, via chapter, via like episode, via, like, is it segmented at all?
Yeah. There's different so I'm going by seasons and all that. So it's actually so the season I just got finished up with, which is 10 episodes, which I'm doing that for each season.
Okay.
Yeah,
And so 10 episodes would be every 2 weeks, so it's like basically 20 weeks.
yeah.
So 20 weeks is a debut a new episode. Do you have like a different title for each new episode?
Yes, they're actually all connected to one like timeline for itself, but they're completely different titles. So for like example, when I was doing Operation Music Villa, which was based out of Nashville, because I actually was basing off of that place in Tennessee and all that kind of stuff. It's
Hmm.
called Operation Music Villa, which basically had this Recon Ricky going up there to explore about the musical notes. But then we have a future episode,
That's
which
the
is
name,
episode.
Recon Ricky.
Well, his name's Operative Ricky. Ricky.
Okay.
So, and so in episode 2, which is actually Operation Elephant Emitter, which basically this duo team has to capture an elephant for teleporting experimentation, and then
Okay.
so on. So,
So is it kind of it's kind of a narrated, like I said, I'm not real familiar with it. So it's kind of a narrated story. So you're kind
mhm.
of doing it like, like an audio version of a book, but it's like the book is only available on the audio version.
Yeah, that is correct. It is audio based for the main storyline, but I have gotten to these side missions I do, which are called opera reports. And so basically, what I do is I explore these different events or locations I've been traveling to, and just find ways to make a shorter a way you can read it online, and basically just weave it into the main story.
Okay, so there's like a text version that's like available after it initially premieres as an audio version.
Yeah, there should be a for the audio. There should be a on Spotify or something like that. There should
Right.
be for Texas, but there's like a different. I mean, what like okay, so for those episodes like right there, I'm doing those are the main episodes. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I got like a side story, which are basically like operative reports that I made up or operative field reports that I actually go into these events and locations I go to and base them off of there, and then try to find a way to weave them into the future episodes. So
Okay.
you got primary episodes, and then you got secondary episodes, which those are readable right there for the smaller ones. They're only like 5 or 7 minutes, or 4 to 5 minutes. It should be just for reading.
Okay, are you gonna compile them all into a book? Like, do you have plans to like make it into something besides just an audio version?
Eventually, when I get to that point, yes, that would be correct. I will make it into a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
And right now, like when you, I guess, lure people in, like how would you spell the premise of it?
Oh, say again. My bad.
How would you spell out the premise of it? Like, what would you say? Like, if you're, the story's about this, or if you're into this, is kind of what's incorporated. So, like, you kind of like bring people in because, like, I would imagine most people aren't really familiar with like periodic, episodic, podcasts.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe I'm just old and I just don't know. And that's like the hot new thing.
Well, that's just kind of the thing. That's just the entire market of the industry itself. You just don't know what people are looking for. So
Right.
basically, what I was told on my travels, and basically was, suggested on my travels and suggested by other people, it's just shout outs at this point. Shout outs.
Okay, so let's talk about the specifics of your storyline. Like so kind of give me kind of a rough take of what's going on and where it's going to.
Okay, so for right now, it kind of started off more like a script and all that kind of stuff, like a fun script, but then it turned into more of a storyline and all that kind of stuff. So you have these operatives that have to go on these like so-called missions in order to retrieve better for. Um, I can't really spoil too much because I don't want to spoil like the entire like season one and all that kind of stuff. But for right now, it's basically building a nuclear bomb for a refinery plant.
And they're do they start on Earth and they slowly go to the moon? Do they what is it? What is it like? Is it like a little bit spurt at the beginning where they on Earth and the rest is on the moon terraforming? Is it like a process? How did it proceed?
So right now, I haven't really got to the point where they're like how they got to the moon because I kind of just started from a script. But basically, when I go through like season two, like because season like with the even season one, that explains a little bit part of it. I'm kind of hinting towards like how they got there. Right now, they're just on the moon and basically just trying to rebuild their entire civilization right now through every means
Has the
possible.
Earth been destroyed?
Yes, Earth has been destroyed.
Okay. Is it still there? It's just uninhabitable or it's gone?
For right now, it's completely gone.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you
Nope. No Earth.
did you see the HBO series Raised by Wolves?
I heard of it, but I don't ever think I've seen it
It,
personally
it went
myself.
through two seasons and then they canceled it, which unfortunately seems to be way too often. But it was like, yeah, there's this giant war on Earth, and there were like basically the people they were religious, but it wasn't Christianity. It was like they believed in like some different sun god. And then there were the atheists, and there's this giant war, and they destroy the Earth, and they all went to somewhere else to like reboot civilization. So it kind of reminded me a little bit about that, but this is like the two of them arrive on the same planet and they're competing, and so there's it's a different evolution.
No, for sure. And especially when you told me about that. Yeah, I basically have everything from built from the ground up and all that kind of stuff, from like the planets, the weapons, the equipment they use, from the characters. It just hasn't been explained just yet for all of them, but they're basically in the reports that you can find on Facebook right now, because that's like the only place I can paste it right now without like having to pay money for a website too much, because it's like, you know, I mean, they're just fun for me to do and all that kind of stuff because I can weave it into the main story. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And so when I do these, they're basically just explain further of the lore of these like factions and characters, because the Rocketeers colony, which is basically the heart and soul of rebuilding human civilization through that base, the HQ base, and all that kind of stuff. They basically go out to this like mess of a universe and basically find out about these allies and enemy factions. So yeah, everything's been built by me. Well, I take
Okay.
inspiration from like everything, but
Well, everybody takes some inspiration from
yeah.
somewhere. Yeah. And some of the people like H.P. Lovecraft, they'd be millionaires if they're alive today because everybody bites on their stuff. But so are you gonna have like aliens and stuff like that coming into it later on? Is it like do you have any plans for like what's further gonna invade the universe?
Yeah. So there's this main faction that's actually been discovered, which is called Cyberax, which is basically supposed to be the main enemy to the Rocketeers colony. Which they're supposed to be like they're not supposed to be a knockoff version of like Skynet or anything because they have a different lore take on them. But it's basically an enemy faction that's actually going to be a big rival to the Rocketeers colony.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And
Yeah.
are you do you have somebody producing artwork for this or anything? Like, I'm thinking like, a lot of stuff could be like, great visual like treat to like bring people in, to suck people in.
Yeah. No, I'm actually making the cover art. I'm basically making the story and the cover art for right now.
Okay.
So,
And how many episodes deep are you?
oh, say again. My bad.
How many
Audio.
episodes are out?
So far, four is out. There's supposed to be one more coming soon.
Okay. And you said you're gonna keep it going for as long as people are interested. Do you have a specific story that you want to spill? Like yeah, within like 6 months I'll tell this story, and then I'll start a new story. Do you have something like that?
So far, well, I guess when I'm set of like writing it out, I guess just trying to like write it out as many seasons as possible and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully that makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, until I just get like, if either people are interested or like whatever happens next,
Right.
then I'll just end the storyline then of so many seasons. So if I got like to season 4, or season 5, then it's like, or season 6, and I'd be like, okay, well, I think it's good enough.
Have
But
you
yeah,
gotten a lot of interest so far?
um, well, I guess I can just put it this way: never got to know yet.
No, but I mean, are
Yeah, I
there
mean, I
like
know. What
people
you
that
mean.
are like, what's happening next, or like
Yeah.
people have like a book or a comic, like people like get seriously invested and they want to know what's happening with the main character, where's the plot leading, and
Hmm.
whether the author tells them or not. He like, you know, he's like happy to have fans often and brings them along on the journey.
So far with people I'm talking to and all that kind of stuff, which I mean, it's not like a mega hit or anything like that, but they're just basically kind of interested in like, well, what is this happening? Or like, why are these people doing this? Or like, why are they doing that? I mean, there is people that's interested in it. It's just basically trying to keep them in a focused group of it.
Okay.
So,
And where are you releasing the podcast? It's like if people look for it, would it be like on Apple? Would it be on YouTube? What would it be on?
it's on every platform you could think of. Spotify, YouTube, you name it.
Okay. And like I said, you debut it every 2 weeks. What do you entitle it?
Like title. Oh, basically, I titled the episode, which is Chemical Rocketeers, like Operation so and so.
But the grand overall title is Chemical Rocketeers, and then it would be episodic after that.
Yes. So basically, the title episodes I'd be going out with, which is are basically my podcast, which is here it is. Okay. So for like example, operate like episode 4, Operation Thermonuclear Arms Race, and then Operation Music Villa. It's basically episode and then number and then operation or project.
Okay, and I assume this is mostly an audio podcast, not a visual podcast.
So far audio.
Okay, so would you write down like a certain amount of text that you want to cover that that specific session, and you read through all that and you go, all right, stay tuned for the next one.
Yep, I have the. I basically have a script that me and my producer, but me and my producer worked on all that kind of stuff, and I basically have these segments, which is like introduction, call to action, and so, and then I
Mm-hmm.
go in straight to the story, and then get wrapped up at the very end. So yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
and have you noticed like a lot of like subscribers, a lot of interest in this sort of thing?
Um, at first not like so much, but a little bit here and there.
Right. It
So
also it probably helps if you like hit more social media markets, especially like podcasts don't cost you anything,
no,
So
not at all.
you
Yeah.
can listen to a podcast for free. So if you tell people what's out there, I'm sure they'll be interested and you'll get more people toward your podcast.
Mm.
So if you go on like one thing I do is I go on Facebook groups and if I interview like a sci-fi writer, then I go on the sci-fi groups. If I interview a horror writer, I go on the horror groups. So I'm just throwing out there that might be a great place to pitch it.
No, no, for sure. That's the reason I've been trying to like network a lot better and all that kind of stuff. I mean, and this entire industry I came from, I didn't just like walk into the podcast. I had to take more of a slow march into the podcast itself, and then taking it further, slow and steady to the podcast itself. So I'm not in no rush to like trying to like rush the content out there. So
But well, I figure, I mean, no matter
yeah,
how good something is, it's a matter of like getting eyes on it. Because
exactly.
I remember in art school, my teacher told me he's like, "If you like any name in art I like," he goes, you know, for every one of him, there were 10 people that were better that never made it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, go
Uh,
ahead.
no, no. I was listening.
I'm just saying it's a matter of right place, right time, marketing, whatever, and getting out
Making
there.
sure my audio
Like,
didn't go out.
obviously, if it's a good product, it helps. But there's also a decent amount of luck.
Yeah, it definitely comes with a lot of like a bit in the pot itself, kind of like a Lucky Charm thing.
Kind of like a Lee Sharp thing.
Well, I mean, either way, I'm pretty satisfied with all the work I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. So either way, how it takes, I mean,
Okay, well, awesome. All right, so
yeah.
why don't you tell me again how people can see you, how they can check out your stuff, check out your podcast.
Sure. The way you can actually check out the podcast, which usually when I come to people that ask for like, how can I check your podcast out? I usually just send them like a link tree that I have that has like all the content pieces to it and all business. So I mean, you can really search it from anywhere, from like YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Podbean, you name it. If you can name it, it's on there.
Okay, do you have a general account like a Buzzsprout or something like that, like distributes it everywhere?
Um, I don't. No, I don't think I do. Podbean.
I'm just wondering because I know
Yeah.
that stuff like Buzzsprout like monetizes
Oh.
it, so after you get like a certain number of views, a certain number of
Oh.
subscribers, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I never. I don't think I do. No.
Yeah, I definitely would look into that. I mean,
Yeah.
they're like, I don't know what you have distributing it like with Apple Podcasts and like all that sort of stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but if you get something like I have Buzzsprout, Buzzsprout puts on everything, and you just pick. It's like iHeartRadio, okay, click. YouTube, click. Okay, Apple Podcast,
Oh.
click.
You're okay. I see what you're talking about. Yes, I do have that. That's basically how I click everything in. Basically, me and my producer were doing it. He said like an RRS feed or something like that, or like
Right, right.
yeah, I got that. When you
Well,
explained it a lot more to me, that made more sense.
yeah. Yeah, well, like Buzzsprout, and like other subscription services like that give you an RSS feed, and you give that feed to like all these different, sources like podcast sources like Apple, like Google, like whatever.
Mm. Yeah, I do have that. Yeah, that's basically how I got everything connected into added to such and such.
And most of them have like a way you can monetize it. Like, they have either, you can like direct people to like directly support your podcast, or after you have a certain number of views, you can you can get advertisers.
Right, and that's a good point you throw out there too. I was just making sure I was hearing it correctly because I was making sure. Well, when you said about that, I was like a little. I didn't want to give you like the wrong answer and be like, "Oh well, yeah, I do have that." But then when you explained it thoroughly, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I have that."
Right.
Yep.
No, I just I'm throwing
Yeah,
it out there because I'm like, whatever can help people can help people, because indie artists, they can
yeah.
use all the support that they can get.
No, and that's actually a good way of saying it too. I mean, as much you know support I can get, but like I said, either way it turns out to be, I mean, I guess the only person I can really count on is just me being satisfied with the work. So,
Well, and hopefully, if you're satisfied with it, other people satisfied with it, it blows up. But
exactly. Blows up like a nuclear bomb.
well, maybe not like a nuclear bomb, but I don't know. In this era, that might be kind of dangerous. But yeah. But all right, man. So thank you for being on the podcast. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there to the social media audience?
I think that's pretty much it. I think it's actually been a pretty good episode for you. I do appreciate everything you've done.
All right, thank you, and be safe there in Ukraine, even if you're in a safer area. And thank you for being on the podcast.
Well, it's been a pleasure, Dan. Thank you so much.